The feud between President Trump and Omarosa turning into a no-holds-barred back and forth. The Trump campaign filing an arbitration action against the former White House aide, alleging breach of a non-disclosure agreement. The president also taking aim at Omarosa on Twitter, writing, "When you give a crazed, crying lowlife a break and give her a job at the White House, I guess it just didn't work out. Good work by General Kelly for quickly firing that dog." Omarosa is responding with a new round of personal attacks against the president.
It's interesting that he's trying to silence me. So what is he trying to hide? What is he afraid of? If he hadn't said anything that was derogatory or demeaning to African Americans and women, why would he go to this extent to try to shut me down?
Should he be afraid of more tapes that you have in your possession?
I think he should be afraid of being exposed as the misogynist, the bigot, and the racist that he is.
You were instructed, according to your book, to bring up the emails at every point you could at the end of the 2016
that's
campaign.
correct.
Hillary Clinton's emails.
Yes, that was our talker.
Did Donald Trump know about those emails before they came out?
Absolutely. He is unfit to be in this office and to serve as the president of the United States.
Let's put up the...
And Press Secretary Sarah Sanders is rebutting Omarosa's claims. Watch.
I think the president is certainly voicing his frustration with the fact that this person has shown a complete lack of integrity, particularly by the actions following her time here at the White House.
Why did he hire her? I mean, why didn't he hire somebody he's describing as a dog, as a
Look, the president wanted to give her a chance, and he made clear when General Kelly came on, and he voiced concerns that this individual didn't have the best interest of the White House and the president and the country at heart. The president said, do what you can to get along, and if you can't, he gave him full authority to carry out the decision to let her go. This has absolutely nothing to do with race and everything to do with the president calling out someone's lack of integrity. The idea that you would only point a few of the things that the president has said negative about people that are minorities. The fact is the president's an equal opportunity person that calls things like he sees it. He always fights fire with fire, and he certainly doesn't hold back on doing that across the board.
So what Sarah Sanders was talking about is a series of tweets where the president has used similar language. I think we have a few of them, if we could call them up. For example, Mitt Romney had his chance to beat a failed president, but he choked like a dog. Now he calls me a racist, but I am least racist person there is. Tweet number 2, Robert Pattinson should not take back Kristen Stewart. She cheated on him like a dog and will do it again. Just watch, he can do much better. And tweet number 3, I'm little at McMiller. I'm now going to teach you a big boy lesson about lawsuits and finance, you ungrateful dog. But then to advance the story just a little bit, because this was what everyone is talking about, Omarosa makes a claim that the president was on tape saying the N-word. Now there's been back and forth of whether this ever existed. Take a listen to Sarah Sanders answering this question from a reporter.
Can you stand at the podium and guarantee the American people they'll never hear Donald Trump utter the N-word on a recording in any context?
I can't guarantee anything, but I can tell you that the president addressed this question directly. I can tell you that I've never heard it.
Okay, so here we are, day, I guess, 3 of the Omarosa-Trump feud. It will end, everybody. It will end. But for now, this is hot in the news. And so, Jesse, let me go to you about how everybody's handling this.
Well, I think the media and Omarosa are perfect for each other. They both have very little credibility. They're both flip-floppers, and they both hate President Trump. I don't trust anything she says. She's a serial fabricator. She should never have been hired for her job at the White House. She belongs in reality TV as a villain. He should never have hired the villain because, obviously, she's a huge backstabber. Hours after she was fired, she gets on the phone and starts lying to her friends and former colleagues about why she was fired. She said she quit, and then hours after she's fired, she comes up with this tape where the president allegedly uses a racial slur. Out of the blue, funny, the same day she was fired, she starts talking about the tape that someone played her. When they asked the person who allegedly played the tape, he says, I don't have a tape. I've never even heard about a tape. Then she said, oh, Frank Luntz has heard the tape. Frank Luntz comes out, says, I don't know what you're talking about, Omarosa. I've never heard a tape. So she has zero credibility at this point. Trump says he didn't say it. At this point, you have to take him at his word. Mark Burnett, the producer for The Apprentice, allegedly told the president that there are no tapes that exist of him saying this word. Her history in the White House has been riddled with poor performance. Al Gore's office fired her. for, I think she was in charge of correspondence, and it turns out they found like 80,000 letters under her desk that she never even sent back. And then they transferred over to the Clinton team and Commerce Secretary's office, and they had to get rid of her because she was an absolute personnel disaster. This is not a racial thing to call someone a dog. The list goes on and on. He's called Glenn Beck a dog, Ted Cruz, David Gregory, Ariana Huffington. And I think Sarah Sanders said the right thing today when she was confronted about the racial issue. She said, in 1.5 years, Donald Trump has created 700,000 jobs for African Americans in this country. And in 8 years, President Barack Obama had only created $195,000. I just let that speak for itself.
Juan, I'll give you the next word then.
Well, I just think that's pretty ridiculous. I mean, the fact is that what you see here is an economy that's been recovering. It's been steadily recovering. Black community still has twice the unemployment of the white community. Is he taking any steps to deal with that? Let's get to the dog thing, because I think that's kind of the top of the news today. This is so deeply offensive. I mean, it's one thing he's calling LeBron dumb. He goes after Don Lemon as dumb. He goes after black women. I can think of Frederica Wilson, Maxine Waters, Suzanne Rice, Donna Brazile. And now this thing, I just thought, I don't care of your race, but I just think to call a woman a dog in this way was so demeaning, so beneath the office of the presidency. I worry about just our kids. I mean, that you have to say, oh, that's the president. That's the way he talks about a woman that he disagrees with. On some level, I wonder, why is he engaging? Why would the president engage with this person? But then you realize, oh, in some of these tapes, like we thought the stuff about being fired in the White House Situation Room by John Kelly, who's going to believe that? But here comes the tape. Then with regard to the N-word, here comes, she says, people say, oh, no such tape. Then Katrina Pearson and others who were Trump aides say, we never had such a conversation with Omarosa. Omarosa produces a tape. I'm thinking, wow. So maybe there's something to it. You say she has no credibility. I would agree with you. I would have agreed with you a long time ago, Jesse. But she keeps producing tapes that, in fact, back up her story.
Kennedy, is the president, I guess, somewhat paying the price for being loyal to her? And he liked her apparently on The Apprentice. He liked her spunk. He liked it that she was a villain, that she would maybe churn things up and get things done.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes you make a bad call.
She's one of those unstable people that we all have known, whether it's in your work life or your family life. And these are the people who hold situations hostage. And they always find a way to get in there, especially to the most powerful person who can usurp any of their enemies around them and right the wrongs that have been done before them. And so the president obviously is a loyal person. Look at some of the people that he's had on his campaign staff and some of the people that he's hired in the White House. Somewhat questionable. Not all of them. Some of them are very good hires. But however, here, because it was only loyalty, that was the only connection that they had, because, you know, no one really knows what her area of expertise is. You know, we were all sitting around here before the show trying to figure out exactly what she did, even, you know, regardless of her title. And when someone who is loyal feels betrayed, that's when you see the kind of reaction that the president is displaying. I do think it's a distraction. I think the story would go away, and I think he would actually come off more sympathetic if he didn't engage her to this level, but he feels like he has to push some of these feuds to this level, and I think you'll see in the future, instead of background checks in the White House, they're going to give psych tests.
But Tyrus, what about the list that Jesse had of all the other people that the president has called a dog?
Well, I'm backtracking for a second. I agree with Juan 100% in terms of the president should not be saying these things. It really is beneath him. When it comes to Omarosa, one, I will point out, she proved me right. She is a unifier. She brought me and Brian Steller from CNN together. He used my quote on the show on his thing. So wow, oil and water. She brought us together. But here's the thing about her. She is a bad human being. Her race and gender is irrelevant. She's a manipulative, evil, mean person. The things that she says, let's just say, we'll give it to her. Let's say our president is mildly racist, and when he gets mad, he says stereotypical things. You, who claim to be the African-American watchdog for us in the White House, not only saw it go down, you did nothing about it, and you profited from it. And it wasn't until your poor work got you fired that you saw a problem, so you're trying to profit again. She's not a dog. She's not any other like that. She's a Tom. And that's way worse than anything else.
She's also known him longer. I mean, she's the one who's known him.
She could have stopped this
3 iterations
horrible man
of The Apprentice
by telling the truth.
Yeah, and throughout the campaign, I mean, she has known him the longest. So conceivably, if this was his true character, she's seen that character. She's been in the boardroom when the cameras were off.
Do you remember during the campaign, and she'd be in the green rooms, or she'd be on not just at Fox, she'd be in other places on other networks, and we were supposed to take her at her word and take her seriously and to have her on the show and to promote Donald Trump. And now you do have to pay a price for this. I do want to ask you this, Jesse. There is something to be said about starving a story, right? Like, ignore her, consider her irrelevant, just move on and talk about all the good things going on. But does the president, one, that's not in his nature to do that. He likes to counterpunch. But also, does he have some ability to discredit her further by being the one that's out there discrediting her?
Well, yesterday we talked about whether or not he should completely ignore her the way he ignored Eminem. And I don't think the president is capable of ignoring things when it reaches this level. When you have Omarosa on CNN and MSNBC and even the Sunday shows going out wall to wall like that, I think the president has to come back and has to come back hard. And when he comes back hard, yes, he will use the word dog and he will tweet about 5 or 6 things. But at the same time, I don't know if the story helps this president. There's a lot of other good things going on. I believe Germany has now blocked $400 million going to Iran. There's great things happening in North Korea with the remains coming back from our soldiers. And all we're talking about is this hysterical woman who's humiliating herself in front of our eyes, and we're feeding this frenzy about a tape that no one even knows exists and probably doesn't exist, and no one can prove. So she's just throwing stuff out there, and everyone's in a feeding frenzy.
Yeah, that's why she keeps coming up with tapes. That's the problem.
She's not coming up with any tape, Juan. You have not heard her say a tape.
She came up with 2 tapes.
There's no tape him using that word, Juan, and that's the big story.
I don't know that. You don't know that, but she's
then
come
produce
up.
it. She records everything. Why didn't she record when she heard that?
I don't know, but I'm telling you, she's come up with 2 tapes that people like you said, oh, this can't exist, this couldn't have happened, and it did happen.
I never said anything about what could or could not have happened. I do know what happened.
Jesse,
she's not credible.
Jesse, you know who's not credible? You know who lacks credibility?
What's that?
President Trump.
I think he has a lot of credibility because that's why people put him in office, Juan.
Yeah.
Well, why is
you know
she
how many times he said she was fired 3 times, 4 times? You know who hired her 4 times?
Yeah.
Donald Trump.
Yeah, he hires only the best people.
Only the best people.
This is what's wrong. We're fighting. We're all dumber for this conversation.
Absolutely.
We're arguing over something she wants. Regardless if there's a tape or not tape, she's a worse person if there is a tape.
Well, I don't doubt that. I'm just saying, I don't give her any credibility, Tyrus. But isn't it interesting that all of us who doubt her keep coming back and say, oh, my God, she has a tape of this. Yeah.